Hey guys, Blake here from Into Mobile, and today we're going to take a quick look at the Motorola Photon Q 4G LTE for Sprint. Now, this is the obvious successor to the Photon 4G that we saw about a year ago on Sprint, but instead of just a couple boosted specs, we now have a full slide-out QWERTY keyboard on the Photon Q, which is a nice little addition because there aren't too many slider Android phones that are really worth taking a look at these days. But we'll get back to the keyboard in a second, but we're going to give you a quick hardware tour and then give you some of our thoughts on the new handset. So what we got here is a 4.3-inch color boost display, which is a display tech that we've seen on devices like the Atrix HD before. But unlike the Atrix HD, the Photon Q is a QHD display. So you're not going to get a 720p panel that we got on the Atrix HD, but the color boost display technology is very nice. It's a crisp screen, there's some pretty decent viewing angles on it, and it's not pentile, so you're not going to get all those pixels when you get up close. So, but above the display, we're also going to see a front-facing camera, and your standard set of proximity and ambient light sensors, as well as built into the actual earpiece is a multicolored LED notification light. So I tested this out with light flow, and it works very well. It's not limited to green, red, and orange. So it's a full-colored LED, and we really appreciate for Motorola putting that in there. But moving over to the side, let's see what we got here. We have a volume rocker, as well as a dedicated camera key. And actually, if you go right here in between the two, there's a little tab for putting in your micro SD card slot. So there's a lot going on that side, and carrying on to this side, we have a micro USB charging port, as well as a micro HDMI port. And there's nothing on the bottom, with the top housing the 3.5mm headphone jack, as well as a centralized power lock switch. And on the back, we have an 8-megapixel camera with LED flash that's capable of recording at 1080p HD, as well as a rather loud speaker grill. So, other than the screen and the sides that you just saw, internally the Motorola Photon Q packs quite the punch. It's obviously an LTE handset, and while Sprint's network really isn't up and running right now, later on when we're going to get more markets, this might be one of the better phones that is going to be offered up. We also have an 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, 1785 milliamp battery, 8-megapixel camera. We said that we got 1 gig of RAM, 8 gigabytes of internal storage, as well as NFC. NFC was sadly missing in the Atrix HD, so I'm kind of glad that Motorola threw it into the Photon Q, because now at very least, the handset could now take advantage of Android Beam. Alright, and let's dive into that keyboard. So the keyboard's actually pretty nice and large. It's the keys are actually not spaced out that well, but the keys themselves are nice and large, and they actually have a nice, good tactile feel to them. So you're actually, it's going to take some getting used to, but I think you'll be banging out some emails really quick once you're getting used to the actual keyboard. What we do wish that we did see was more of a symmetry between both sides. There's just one shift key, and because of that, there's a D-pad right here. Some people might use it, some won't. I wish that they would just put two shift keys, just so you can, it's just quicker for me. It might be a personal preference, but that's just how I see it. Overall, this is a pretty decent keyboard, and probably one of the better ones that we've seen come from Motorola lately. So if you're looking for a QWERTY keyboard, this one might be the right one for you. On the software side of things, Motorola's pretty much added the exact same software that we've seen in the Atrix HD, which is essentially the new and improved not Moto Blur. They're not calling it Moto Blur anymore, but that's essentially what it is. One of the main features that people tend to like about this software is the clock widget, which it's animated when you can flip them. It's flashy, it's not that special, it's just interesting. One thing that we actually do like about the software is that Motorola has gone for the on-screen soft keys, so you actually have more of a clean look on the handset. So, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Some handsets like the Galaxy S3 and the HTC One X, they're both running ice cream sandwich, yet they still use capacitive buttons. But we're glad that Motorola has opted for on-screen buttons. But overall, I mean, this is it's actually fairly stock. There are definitely some tweaks here and there. The icons kind of remind you of previous the MotoBlur software, and so it's a pretty nice experience that we think a lot of people might enjoy. But there's going to be a lot more talk about the software in the official review, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.